You are listening to the Fresh Take Network.
What it is, what to do, welcome to Fresh Take. Joshua Adam, William Arbuthnot. I am very privileged to have Kendra Vickers of the Outriders, the coach of the Outriders.
Hey.
So Kendra, it's a delight to have you on. You are, I guess, our second person connected to the Stampeders to be on here. We've had Mark Stevens, and now we've had you on here. So they're keeping the Stampeders, not the greatest start so far for the Stampeders, obviously, this season.
Oh, yep. New beginnings, though.
New beginning.
Just a new season. Yeah, I'll be back.
So before we kind of get into the Stampeder side of things, obviously, the really cool thing about you, being the Outrider coach, being part of the Outriders, and I'm really excited for some of those experiences that you've been able to have. But let's just kind of take it back to the principal side of everything like that and your love of dance and how that all started.
Yeah, absolutely. So as all the members of the Outriders, I grew up dancing in Calgary. And that was, a long time ago. And then when you turn 18, there wasn't a lot of just areas for people to dance, and the Outriders was an option just to continue dancing when you are 18 to 25, 30 years old. Luckily, the dance community has changed, and there's definitely a lot of options today for people that are like 18, 19, 20 years old to continue dancing. But 10 years ago, there was nothing. So
yeah,
I auditioned for the Outriders, and I thought it was a long shot for sure. Just thought it would be a fun challenge, and somehow I made the team, and I had no idea what I was in for.
And what year was this in?
2011.
2011, okay.
My first year.
So 10 years now with the Stamps.
10 years, yeah. This will be my 11th season. So then I danced with the Outriders for seven seasons. And then I was the assistant coach for the last 2 years. And this is my first year as the head coach.
So, and kind of with dance overall, what was like your first memory as like a little girl of kind of, oh, I want to do that. I love to dance, or like, this is something I want to like take into a different level.
I think my whole family, everybody they're very athletic in sports and in the sports world. So I was in soccer. I remember I was 6 years old, and I would only do like cartwheels and tricks and just play around in the grass. And I never like even touched the ball ever. And my mom was like, okay, I'm not wasting any more money on you playing soccer. I'll put you in dance. And I just love to perform. I would always make up dances at home with our cousins. I feel like that's pretty common to a lot of people, but just love dancing, love performing. And then my mom registered me in a class, I think when I was about 7 years old, and literally just fell in love with dance, and I still love it.
Did you do any like performing arts stuff in high school, like plays or anything like that?
Yep, I did a number of plays all growing up. I also went to Central Memorial. They have their performing and visual arts program. So I did that for 3 years. And then I started teaching dance when I was about 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
So
you had the teaching side relatively early then?
Yeah, absolutely. I started student teaching when I was about 14. And then by 16, I had a class or two, and then just kept teaching. I absolutely love teaching. And that is a bit different. You don't get to perform, but you still get to be involved in dance and share your passion for dance. So it's unreal.
And I don't mean to jump all over the place here, but having the academy, and I'm going to talk more about the academy, but what's obviously the difference with the experience you've had now of teaching when you were younger to the teaching now, and what kind of like lessons have you kind of learned and differences you've learned as you've kind of gone onto both sides of the teaching?
That's a good question to think about. It gets easier as you get older, just because I've taught so many kids. I've been obviously teaching for a long time now. So I don't have to prepare as much. I find that dance has changed even in the last 10 years. There's new tricks, new exercises, new techniques, and the world is getting better. Like the world of dance is getting better.
Yeah.
And I think that is largely because of social media. we're able to see dancers from all over the world. And so just the caliber of dance is so intense these days, even for a 10-year-old. So the stuff I was teaching 10 years ago definitely has changed, because the expectation is just that kids can do more. So you have to kind of adapt and yeah, I've had to learn new tricks at the age of 30 to try to teach these 10-year-olds, just because it's always evolving and changing, and they'll see a kid on YouTube and do a move that they really want to do. So you kind of just have to learn new exercises and choreography and pull it all together.
I
So.
guess like the world of TikTok has definitely re-influenced dance in a different way, right? Because everyone wants to go viral and learn those new dances, and they must bring that into the academy all the time.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like like we'll have 11-year-olds that will see an 11-year-old in California, bringing their leg past their head, and they'll want to do that too. Again, when I was younger, we didn't have that. We had YouTube, but I wasn't YouTubing dancers, and people weren't really posting a ton. So you would only be influenced by the people in your studio. Now our kids are influenced by everybody all over the world, and they're seeing it all the time. So it really does change what we have to teach. It changes how hard they have to work. It is pretty interesting to see the evolution of it all.
You kind of talked about influences. Who were some of your influences as dancers, growing up?
That's a great question. A lot of like my old studio owner, she was amazing, just an incredible mentor and leader. And I idolized her. A lot of the senior dancers that we had growing up. Of course, I'd love to say like Britney Spears and, and stuff like that. My mom would be like, "What the heck, Kendra? Like, Britney Spears is your idol?" But she was for everybody.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you're gonna bring up Britney, and that was kind of gonna be my next question. Like, watching stuff on Much Music up here or MTV, and you see some of those, choreography dance and back and for like MTV awards and whatnot. Did you ever have an idea that you'd kind of want to go into that realm?
No, I was never really drawn to that side. I literally just loved being in classes. I loved putting in the work. I loved challenging myself. I never really had huge aspirations to take it professionally or anything like that. And again, at that time, you had like the mega pop stars, but we didn't have like TikTok stars or YouTube stars or anything like that. It just wasn't accessible then. So we didn't really think about, taking it professionally, because you'd have to move to LA or Toronto or something like that to do it. So I just loved dance. I loved being with my friends and putting on little performances, and that was great. I was happy doing that.
Did you do competitions and stuff when you were littler for dancing?
I did not. No. I started. Our studio does go to competitions and we compete, but that was very new for me. The studio I went to was recreational, and it can be so expensive, dance competition and all of that. So I was just able to do some classes, like recreational classes.
When you were younger in high school and whatnot, I don't know if Central has a cheer squad, but was there those opportunities?
No,
because Canada doesn't really do the cheer squad thing. I think if our American listeners listening would kind of be shocked, maybe not, I don't know, but Canada doesn't really traditionally do the cheer squad thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is an untapped market here. I know in Eastern Canada, it's a lot bigger. Dance team is a big thing. College dance teams, they compete, which is similar to the drill teams and the cheer teams that they have in the United States. But in Western Canada, it just does not pick up. And of course, like the Dinos cheer team, they're amazing. It's very, very different than it is in the United States. Sure.
Yeah, because you watch a movie like Bring It On, for example, and you kind of see those big competition-based things that are like, have men, women, all types, and the great competitions they have. And we don't really have that outlet. So if someone like you that was a younger dancer maybe would have gravitated to something like that at a younger age.
And there are cheer facilities in Calgary and Edmonton. Okay. And they're fantastic. I don't know how old they are. I don't know if they would have been around when I was a kid. I don't want to date myself. I sound like I'm not too old, but I don't think we would have been really around, or maybe just starting when I was younger. So there are some really amazing like cheer facilities, and I know some gymnastics like academies have been introducing some cheer. But yeah, it's really not like it is in the States where you have 15 different cheer studios to pick from, and you're doing cheer in junior high and high school.
Yeah, and like we said, you're definitely seeing a pickup from the younger side, and we'll talk about your academy stuff here in a bit because you're doing some really cool things there. With the Outriders, you get the job in 2011, and there's so many places we can go over the stats. I think number one, you've been truly blessed. Well, you haven't won all of them. Pretty much half of your career as a Stampeders Outrider, you have gone or been either you've been gone to and been part of Grey Cups.
Yes, yeah, it's amazing. So the really cool thing about the CFL is all of the cheer teams get to go to the Grey Cup every season. So I've been to, well, we didn't have one last year, so I've been to 9 Grey Cups, just in general. But I think you're right. I think 5 times the Stampeders were in it, maybe 6. And we won twice, which means we lost the other 3 times.
Some heartbreakers too.
Which is, yes, the first time we lost the Grey Cup was devastating. I did not think that we would recover from that loss. You realize later that you do. But yeah, over and it is so cool to be at the Grey Cup game with your team there, and you get to cheer them on. It's amazing.
And what's in the NFL, the cheer squad are not allowed to, be near the players and kind of conversate with them. What's the CFL like with that?
Yeah, I'd actually be curious to know what it is in the NFL. Each team has their own policies and everything like that. With our team, we don't have any set rules on just like personal relationships or anything like that. We do talk about as a coach, I do talk to the ladies on our team, like, why are you here? Like, we're here to dance, we're here to cheer on our team, we're here because we love the community aspect of it. We love being at the game. We're not here to meet your boyfriend or the player of the week or anything like that. And so the members that we have on our team, they're here for the right reasons and not to date players or anything like that. The other thing about it that we've talked about a lot in my last 10 years is cheerleaders, we constantly have to fight against stereotypes. It's so easy, like even just when people hear cheerleader, they have something that they picture, that they think of. And we do talk about that. Like, we are constantly trying to fight stereotypes. And so if we do have girls that are, our ladies on our team that are, dating lots of players and things like that doesn't help our image as cheerleaders as a whole in the whole CFL. So that is something that a lot of team members of the CFL cheerleading community, we really take a lot of pride in our reputation and fighting those stereotypes. So we don't have lots of issues with that, and we need to have like a set rule in place or anything.
It's really interesting you kind of talk about the stereotype thing, because that was one of my questions that you guys obviously face a lot. I think even having the name Outrider is a good thing, because unfortunately for the name cheerleader, it does lead to some different ideas for some people sometimes, as simple as that name is.
It's so true. Like, my best friends on cheer, we were all in university when we were younger, and then I started my own business, and an entrepreneur. My other friend put herself through law school and is a lawyer, passed the bar, all being on the Outriders. Another friend is a VP of a huge oil and gas company. And so these women are, not just like girls that love to dance and love to perform. They do love that, but there's so much more to these women. And it's so easy for people to just say like, oh, they're a cheerleader. Like, they're probably ditzy or, self-obsessed or a lot of those things. But in reality, the Outriders are overachievers. They're type A. They're girls that just want more than like a 9-to-5 job. They love being part of their community. So yeah, the stereotypes are interesting, frustrating.
And how do you guys come up with the different outfits? Is that has that changed with you being the coach with the outfit design, or is that something entirely different?
The previous head coach, Ella Finley, she's amazing. She designed our current uniforms about
Oh, wow.
5 or 6 years ago.
Nice.
And they're fantastic. They're well designed, well built, well constructed. So a huge thing that Kyla and I coached with Kyla for 2 seasons, and she was one of my mentors for a long time. A huge thing that we talked about previously is identity, and cheer teams, or really any team, you do have an identity. And so early on, while I was on the Outriders, our coach Kyla, she chose the Outrider identity, and being from Calgary, we've decided that the Outriders and the Stampeders were going to be country girls, and so our uniforms definitely have a bit of country flair to them. We wear white cowboy boots, there's a bit of fringe, a little bit of leather, so all of that is designed to just help create our identity. And then we have made it so our uniforms are recognizable and they don't change dramatically, so then that way just when people see the uniforms, they know exactly who it is. They know that that's an Outrider. And we always say the faces change, but the uniforms stay the same.
Yeah.
Because it does. It creates your brand. It creates your identity. It creates continuity for the fans. So
what's you guys obviously you're at the Stampeder games, you're in the front of that. What's kind of been some of the side events, one of your favorite side events that you've been able to be a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that the Outriders do a ton of community work. We have for years. We have the opportunity to go to so many amazing events. One of my personal favorites, and I could say this for most of the ladies on the team, would be the Alberta Children's Hospital. Before every home game, we are able to send like 2 to 4 members of the Outriders to the Alberta Children's and just visit with kids and sign some footballs and do some crafts. And that is an amazing event to go to. So that's probably one of my favorites. Another huge one that we were part of for many, many years is the Hike for Hospice. Just incredible people work for Hospice Calgary. That's an incredible event. You get to meet so many people that have visited their family members in their final days in hospice with Hospice Calgary, and they feel so taken care of. And as an Outrider, you get to go as a celebrity, but you really talk to these incredible people and just get to know everybody's stories. And yeah, it's very, very cool.
It's one of the things, kind of doing this, I wanted to, let it be known because, I got a chance, it was minor, but, you were at State one time and I was a student there and I've seen you at other events. And I think it's the cool thing with the Outriders is how big they are within the community of Calgary and the stuff that they do put forth into the community.
Absolutely. And it is cool because, the Outriders can be, they're an extension of the Stampeders. So, if the players are away on the road somewhere, the Outriders can be at events representing our team and representing our club and representing our city. When we go to Cup, the Outriders are representing Calgary. And they're very identifiable. Like everybody all over Canada knows the Outriders, and that's a very, very neat experience. But we try to be in the community, and it's funny. It's one of those things where, like, it seems like we're doing it for other people, but really, like, the girls do it for themselves. Like the events that we get to go to are, almost more for us. We just sent 3 Outriders to a driveway dance party last week for a family that lost their daughter to cancer, and so they were trying to raise money for the Alberta Children's Cancer Research. And they had this huge driveway party, and when I asked the girls, like, "Oh, how did the event go?" They just start crying. They're like, "It was amazing. It was so cool to be part of."
It's super cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot like that where, we send our team out there, but they actually get so much from it. So
and again, like, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to hit is how phenomenal they do within the community and how important they really are with everything. And on the football side of things, you guys aren't really paying attention to the game as much, right? Like, you're watching the game, obviously, but you have so many things going on, right? I think that's a thing too that people don't really realize, because I've talk to some of the outriders one time. It's like, oh, do you mention what happened during the game, or what do you like this play? They're like, we have so many different things going on during the game. Where when the touchdown and stuff happens, obviously we're seeing it, but you guys have so many things going on.
Yeah, I would say that there's so much going on during a game. Every outrider is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I definitely was a little bit more involved in the game. I grew up going to Stamps games, so I love football. So I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to pay attention to, when we would get a first down, like, you are actually genuinely excited about that. So everybody's different. One thing that we try to keep in mind as cheerleaders is sometimes our fans don't even understand what's going on, and they look to our cheerleaders to kind of show them exactly what's happening. So
yeah,
like when we are on defense, we try to make a lot of noise so the opposing team like can't hear their plays, and so we try to get the crowd really pumped on defense. And then when it's offense, we try to be silent and make sure that the whole stadium is nice and quiet so our team can really hear each other, and that's part of the home game advantage. So there is a lot more.
Is there communication with you and Ralph to dictate that kind of things, or does Ralph kind of just do his own thing?
Ralph does his own thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just worry about ourselves, and we just watch the game and make sure that we have certain cheers for when we're on defense, certain cheers for when we're on offense. Obviously when the other team gets a touchdown, we're like, all right, let's rally, boys, let's do it. So
well, the Stamps too have, I mean, I can't speak for a lot of the other CFL teams, but really, even including some NFL teams, it's almost a collegiate level of the performance of a touchdown. You have the horse, you have you guys, you have Ralph. There is really the whole dynamic. You're not going to see a bigger celebration for a touchdown at a football game outside of really the collegiate experience in the States than what you see from a Stampeders game.
Yeah, it's amazing. And really, like, since I've moved into this coaching role, I've been able to be part of a lot of the discussions for the in-game entertainment division of the Stampeders. And those, like that team, they think about every detail, like what's going to be on the screen when we get a touchdown, and like where should the attention be at the stadium, and just the music and every detail, who's announcing what do they need to say, and it's just so well thought out. And that is an amazing feeling when we do get a touchdown and there's fireworks and quick six is running and the stadium's going wild, and yeah, it's really cool.
Do you have a favorite football memory as part of the Outriders? Outside of Grey Cup stuff, maybe like just in a game or like a catch or touchdown you saw?
Yeah, obviously winning the Grey Cups were amazing. That was such a cool experience. I'm trying to think of a favorite memory. It's funny, like when you're on the team, you remember it all, but now like it's my 10th season, things that kind of blur together.
You often hear that from people, like, how can it blur together? It all has to be so exciting. It's like, yeah, but just things start winding all in, right?
Exactly. It's so clear. I've always loved like the overall game day experience and the things that we get to do, like performing on the sidelines. I think one of the greatest feelings is like a Friday night or a Saturday night when the stadium lights are hitting you and the fans are going wild and the boys are playing well, like that. There's no better feeling than you're just having a great dance, or a great time dancing. I think one of my favorite memories was we actually went up to Edmonton for the Labor Day rematch, and it was pouring rain the entire game, just like ruthless.
Wow. Yeah.
If the boys are playing, we're out there. We don't go inside or anything like that. But the rain is so funny because you think that it would make people stress, but it almost just takes away all your worries. Like you're just kind of like soaking wet. Who cares what we look like? We're just here to dance. And those games are so fun. Just so much of the pressure is taken away. The fans that are there are obviously just committed, and everyone's just having a great time. So
yeah, I guess you've done it all weather-wise, right? You've done way too hot days. You've now had smoky days, obviously, recently. You've had snowy days, minus 30 days. It's been a combination of everything for the weather.
It's true. And our policy with as cheerleaders is if our team is out there, like we're an extension of the team. We don't get to go inside and warm up. We do often get people asking us because the Outriders will wear like a half top or something. They'll ask us if we get cold. We always say like we're actually some of the warmest people at the stadium because we're constantly moving and dancing. And it's 3 hours of just pure exercise. So for us, so we're good. Like no one should ever be worried about the Outriders being cold.
What's a typical day like from game day to closing for an Outrider?
So a game day, we are there 2 hours prior to the game. The girls will stretch and warm up, and then we'll do a team practice. And then really like we have to be out about 15 minutes prior to the kickoff. And we do a intro dance, which happens, I think 15 or so minutes before kickoff. And then we do sidelines. So we're on the sidelines the entire game dancing. And then we do 2 to 3 on-field dances per game. So there's lots. And then we tunnel off our players at the very end and we finally get to go home. But because we wait till all the players are off the field, traffic is usually pretty minimal by the time we're leaving. So that's a win. Yeah, that's a win.
So, some of your favorite memories are obviously Grey Cup. So I think one I remember is particularly is that I think it was an Imagine Dragons, and you were first and foremost right on the television for a good chunk, right? But now, was that designed for you to be part of that, or that's just the way the camera worked?
So Grey Cup, we usually have or like the Grey Cup production company, they usually have the cheerleaders involved in either the pregame show or the halftime show. And it just changes on the year, depends on budgets, it depends on what they want to do for the overall production. So we've done a variety of performing right on the stage, sometimes just being in the crowd, sometimes dancing all throughout the stands. It's been so different depending on the year. So some performance like groups and stuff, they do want the cheerleaders involved. So Imagine Dragons, they did have us, and they just put the cheerleaders everywhere. Our coaches assign where we'll be, and then it just depends on where the camera is and where that what TSN is cueing their camera crew. So it's not planned on our end, it's obviously planned with TSN or whoever's shooting it.
Did your phone kind of blow up when you got back afterwards?
It's so funny, and then people are sending me screenshots, and I think it's like this much of my face, and I'm just smiling. And I got quite a few screenshots of me, which is funny. So, and for us, when you're there, there's so much to experience, right? Like you're at the Grey Cup, and you're in this amazing halftime show. So I'm not as focused on something as small as that, like the camera being on me. So it's just funny what people see when they're at home. It is pretty different being there.
So what is your favorite overall memory so far as an Outrider?
I think the first time that we won the Grey Cup. So the year prior, 2012, 2013, we had an unreal season. The Stampeders were dominating. The West was so strong. And going into the Western final, like we played like a perfect game in the Western final. So when we went to Grey Cup, there's kind of rumor like, whoever the West is going to win. The West is so strong. Sure. So we went in, I think it was Toronto. It might have been 2012 or 2013. It was Toronto. And we went in so cocky. The players, the cheerleaders, the fans, everyone was just, the West is the best. Like, we got this. And they were horrible. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, we were not playing well. We could not catch the ball. Like, it was unreal. So we were losing this game, and we're all devastated because we obviously came in way too hot. And then I think it's not the next year, 2014, we went to Vancouver, and the Stamps were in it, but we had all learned our lesson. We all just went in knowing like, you can lose this, and like, don't get your hopes up. So the whole game, all of us that are standing on the sidelines, just like barely smiling, just so anxious. And the fans were anxious, and the players were anxious. And when we won, we didn't even believe it until that clock was like 0, 0, 0, and we saw the Stamps horse. And that moment, like when we saw the Stamps horse come up and like red confetti went everywhere, we all just looked at each other like, what? Like, we did this! Like, we can't believe it. And so that was a super cool moment. We all got to run onto the field, and
Nice.
then she's there and off the dog, and yeah, so it was really, really cool.
That's fantastic. It's been a really almost still like long career, but short career still. What went into you becoming the head coach now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we had two incredible coaches my entire 7 years dancing. And one of the coaches actually moved to Ontario, and she's now the coach of the Hamilton Ticats cheer team.
Oh, wow.
So I took over as the assistant coach, and coached for 2 years. And then just last season, our former coach, Kyla, she has 3 kids and was busy working with them, and it just seemed to make sense. So now I'm the coach of the Outriders.
So what's the biggest difference you've noticed of being an outrider and then being a coach? Like what different things have you noticed in your day-to-day routine with everything?
Yeah, there's a lot more to coaching than I think even me, who is a very involved outrider, ever thought.
Yeah.
There's just so many things to consider. Um, and it is a big responsibility. Again, like, we do represent Calgary and we do represent the Stampeders, and there's just a lot of weight in the decisions that we make. It's not just me deciding whatever I want. It's always what's best for the team and what's best for the overall Outriders, the image of the Outriders and the image of the Calgary Stampeders, and then what's best for the actual members and what's best for the girls, and what does everybody need. And so there's definitely a lot to consider when you're a coach, and I think that's across the board for any job, in any sport, anything. So
Well, you've definitely set a mark with the Stamps overall, and then you've also set a mark just for dance in Calgary because you have your own dance studio.
yeah, I do. Yeah, it's amazing. I obviously love dance.
Yes.
And so it is amazing that I get to continue dancing every single day and dance professionally and help the next generation of dancers just find their passion and their love for dance. So
how did it all come about getting the studio?
yeah, with the studio, it was funny. I was 22 years old, 22. I was just about finished my final semester at UC, and I had met my business partner, and we were very naive and just thought, oh, why don't we start a dance studio? Like, that sounds amazing. Sounds great. And so we did. We had $500 and we just started it up. And being so young, I was super naive. I had no idea that, like, the risks of owning a business. I had no idea what it would be. I was just very optimistic and very like, oh, I'll start a dance studio and it's going to be great. And it has been. But definitely as I get older, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit like, that's pretty confident at 22 to just take your life savings of $500 and invest it into the small business. So we started, 7 years ago or so. And it's just grown every year.
And you guys have been able to do some productions of shows and everything like that, which is super cool.
Yeah, so my studio is pretty unique. We have 2 programs. We have a dance program, which has all of your typical classes, your ballet, lyrical, contemporary, but I also run a musical theater program, has acting, singing, and dancing. So
Nice.
our kids also do full musicals every year, and that's pretty unique. We don't have a lot of studios in Calgary that do children's theater. So if you're interested and you have kids one day, Josh,
Yeah,
send
one
them my
day.
way. Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and I got a chance to hear about some reviews from some of those shows, and they've been great. And then I'll go on a down note and then we'll end on a positive note. But just I know the dance studio during COVID, and obviously the cheer side too, was just a real struggle. Just kind of talk about your experience with all that in the last 20 months. It's a struggle for everyone, but I know for you, it was a tough time with everything.
The toughest thing was things were constantly changing, and that is very hard on kids. For me, it's fine. I can figure things out. I knew that we were going to be okay. I was very confident that we would get through this. But it's really hard to watch, 12-year-olds start to really struggle with their mental health. And, dance is something that they love to do. It's part of who they are. It's part of their identity. And, when you're going through junior high or elementary and you don't love school, something's not growing right, dance is a safe place for them. And that was hard. We never fully shut down, but we did have to go on Zoom, it's so hard. It's so hard to dance in a little bedroom. You
Yeah.
should see some of these setups that these kids have, and they tried their best. So overall, we were totally fine. We survived the year. I actually think that we had a really positive year, but it definitely was hard
Yeah.
on our kids. I think it's hard on everybody, but those kids, they had it pretty tough. And even when we were allowed back, like we were told we could go outside. And like me, I'm like game for anything. So I set up tents and fire tables and we went outside.
Nice.
And it'd be snowing and raining and our kids would just be there. So I think they really appreciated all the work that our teachers did and our staff to come up with new ideas and innovative ways to teach online. But I think everyone's so happy that hopefully those days are behind us.
Yeah, I think we all hope so. And then just kind of what's the future dictate for Kendra Vickers going forward? Obviously, you got the studio, coach of the Outriders, things are going fantastic, but what's some aspirations and some goals for the future going forward here?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think definitely just continuing to grow the studio. We're about to enter, I think, our 7th year in September, and it's fall, and that's fantastic. And we just love doing a good job for those kids and for those parents and those families. So we're going to really try to focus on dance and have a great season there. And then with Outriders, I've learned a lot coaching. This again is my first year as head coach, and it's been crazy. Like it's a new year. Like we have new protocols and everything is new. So I think next year and the next couple of years, it'll be exciting just to, just try to get in the groove of coaching and figuring that out. So.
Well, it was an honor to have you. Congratulations. You're just newly engaged, which is super exciting. So that's fantastic. And it's a privilege to have you on here, and all the best in the future. And until next time, folks, cheers.